knew I had you there, Luds. I asked him a question, Owen. He would not respond to me.
We're on to you.
He knew. I knew. Maybe I'll just stop doing it now. The jig is up. The news is out.
You got to come up with a different one.
Luds
We
has
need a
found
new
me.
bit. I guess this is the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show.
Yeah, apparently
Here we
so.
are. Apparently we're live again. Guess what? For the first time, our harebrained producer's idea of a 164-point season is no more. As the Dallas Stars lose their first game of the 24-25 season. We'll get into all of it. Luddy and I have the talk. Who knows what bit John comes up with? Let's get it going here on DLLS. It is nice. Unfortunately, the tune is the best thing of the night for the Dallas Stars. This is the DLLS Dallas Stars postgame show after the first loss of the regular season for your Dallas Stars, 3-2 to the Washington Capitals, snapping a 5-game winning streak for the Stars against the Caps. And they now have drop points for the first time this year. Alongside Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk. We will break down our entire game tonight. That's right, Lizzie. The undefeated dream is indeed dead. The idea of going 82-0, as ridiculous as that sounds. Look, it's going to happen, Luds. You're not going to win them all.
Nope.
This was one where the Stars were still in it, but I never really felt like they were, at any point, the driving force of this hockey game.
They weren't in control. No. Well, I think control was up in the air for both teams, actually. I can't help it, but it takes me back to the last press conference, Pete. It does, because he had that tone, and it was like he sensed, yeah, we're winning games, but we're not winning them the right way, or we're not in a complete way. And I think coaches have that sense where they can just feel that it's not that it's slipping away, that we're not where we need to be right now, even though it's still only game 4 and game 5. And they have that ability to say, you know what, you can't take the win away from you, but we need to do things a little bit harder and faster and better. And we don't have a lot of time to practice. We know that. So how do we accomplish that? Tonight, they didn't accomplish it.
No, they sure didn't. And honestly, it never felt like they were really, we talked about not in control. It really felt like they were never the better team at all either.
Right.
And the first period, be hard pressed for us to create a lot of things to talk about in the first 10 minutes. I mean, I can't remember the last time, it's been a while, where we had a game, let alone this year, but a game where 10 minutes went by and I didn't have a single quality chance written down.
Do you kind of call that a low event period?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I've seen preseason games that had more intensity.
You
than
went to the
start of that
fridge
one.
for 3 different pieces of cake.
I did.
Yeah, it was
And
one of
it
them.
was more disappointing every single time. But you know what? Nothing happened. It really was. It was back and forth and just kind of doing their thing. And then a penalty was called, and that kind of woke things up. Now, there was an early penalty. Ilya Lyubushkin got called for cross-checking 2 minutes, 51 seconds into the first period. Honestly, I thought the Stars' penalty kill was sublime, as the Capitals didn't do anything with it.
The bright spot has been, and we talked about this with the signing of Jake Oettinger, and all things lead through the goaltender and point at him. The penalty kill has been really good this year, but the guys have done a really good job in front of Jake, and when things have, or Casey, either way you want to look at it, when they needed to make a save, they did. But for the most part, I think it's been the best part. If you got to break everything up, besides the goaltending, it's the penalty killing.
Yeah, and they were very clean to start the game. The Caps didn't create anything. And the biggest surprise, and it's not a surprise because we saw it a little bit last year, but just how different Alex Ovechkin looks right now. Now, he may snap out of it like he did last year in the second half, and he rattled off, 23 goals over the final 40 games. But I remember, I mean, he's been playing in the league forever. I remember just how terrifying he was as an opposition supporter, watching the other team go, oh my God, he's out there. He's literally, you know where they're going and you still can't stop it. There were times where he didn't even raise a nervous heartbeat at all.
He would steamroll players early on, and being a goal scorer, and he is the Russian machine that never breaks. But he has slowed down a little bit, and it is becoming one-dimensional, and it's about catching Wayne Gretzky, and he'll get his goals. But tonight, I mean, again, you saw in the PK, it was Wyatt Johnson I noticed the most, basically standing over there and saying, yeah, I know we're playing 5-on-4, but this is going to be a 4-on-3. And other teams have tried that, and they still find ways to score. And usually it's Carlson from the short, or they switch sometimes. They kind of flip around. They didn't have a lot of creativity there. And I've said this before. I just think that they're going to really try to force things to Ovechkin this year. And this may be the year that you just take him away.
By the way, no Sam tonight. He's out. He on the IR for the night. Hopefully he'll be back for our next broadcast either tomorrow or our game on Saturday. If you want to jump in on it tonight, jump in the chat. Ask us your questions. We will get to those once we finish our game recap. That being said, the Stars got a power play as Dylan McElrath was called for high sticking after the 9-minute mark. That was short-lived because Casey DeSmith got called for tripping. At live speed, I thought, okay, that's a makeup call. Then when we watched the replay, boy, there wasn't a whole lot in that.
No, there wasn't. But you know, the pad and the leg and everything goes over there, and a little stick and a couple skates click, and next thing you know, there's a penalty called.
Well, the penalties actually created something because Miro got a one-timer on the first Stars power play that lasted about a minute. Then Alexei Protas, who was a handful tonight, especially shorthanded, had a chance on the rush where it just didn't look like Miro had anything left in the tank. That was in the first period. Were you surprised to see that?
Yeah, and it was kind of, I was trying to see, did he get caught out there on a long shift or something that happened? Because it started in the offensive zone, and when Protas takes off skating, Miro took a couple strides, and I don't know if he felt that he didn't have that kind of speed. Because what I thought he should have done is actually sometimes when you're in a race, instead of racing for the puck, you try to step in front of the player and try to get cover, or, get the lane that you want. And that didn't happen. And Protas just skated right by him and just said, get out of my way.
Well, then they had a power play on the back half of some 4-on-4 play that didn't really go anywhere. And that's what actually led to the first goal of the game, because with the Stars still having the, I think it was Marchment in the box, Colin Blackwell scored his first goal as a Dallas Star. We'll get to the super chat in just a second.
It relates to this, though, and it is about Blackwell.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to it, because Blackwell gets his first goal as a Dallas Star. Oscar Beck gets his first point in the NHL with the assist. It's a shorthanded goal at 12:19, 1-0 Stars. And here's our boy T. Farmer. Blackwell, 15-15. I like that. That Blackwell deke on the shorty, or shoddy as he wrote it. Puck on a string in front of the net.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
You know who likes that? The way you pronounce that. Shoddy.
Who likes that?
Oh, the Boston kid over
Oh,
here.
yeah, he does.
Shoddy.
Shot punch.
Shoddy's like a melody in my head.
One good thing at least. Yeah, that was a really nice goal from Colin Blackwell. It was a nice play by Oscar Beck. Stars had the lead when I don't think they were the better team most of the night, but especially at that point, their penalty kill was their bright spot.
I was surprised because Blackwell almost was standing still when he picked up that puck and nobody caught him. But what the smart play was is Blackwell's a right-handed shot. Goaltender catches with his right hand, which is a little different. So he comes in and he fakes to his right, the goaltender's left, where the stick can come down and take it. Then he pulls it back to his left. And the only way he was going to get that, if he can get his glove down, he doesn't, and he taps it in.
It's funny. They always say that the left shot player has an advantage because most goalies catch with their left, which means that the left on their forehand is shooting at the blocker. Mm-hmm. As a right shot, you're so used to facing the glove on your strong side that when you do face a right catch goalie, it kind of throws you off a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't know. I can't speak on that. I have no idea. I never get down to that end of the rink, so I don't know. But I've heard that from some good goal scorers. They don't care.
Well, I'll say it too, and I'm definitely not a good goal scorer, but it's weird when you do play against a guy that catches with the other hand.
It just looks wrong, doesn't it?
You're so used to thinking, okay, the catching glove is here and the blocker's over there, that when it's turned around, it just kind of, it's like facing a left-handed pitcher. If you've only ever faced the righties, you're just not, it's completely a different look.
Well, that's why I thought it was smart on Blackwell's part, because when he fakes to his right, the goaltender has to slide to the left, so all the ice is being taken up on that stick hand. The paddle gets down over there, and then when he cuts back to his left, goaltender, the only really thing he can do is try to reach over with that glove, and he can't get it down on the ice.
A little bit later in the period, Brendan Smith gets tripped up and goes awkwardly into the end boards. Gets up holding his right arm, forearm, wrist area. And you and I both immediately thought that, given the body language, that he was seriously hurt as he went to the bench, but did return.
Yeah, and it was hard because we saw like 3 different replays, and there was nothing really clear to me what it could have been. But obviously his fist may have gone into the boards first. think that's his hand that he had on the stick too, and it kind of comes in. You don't brace yourself enough, and it looked like the way he went in, he could have turned it over or something like that. We both thought, uh-oh, maybe a fracture.
Well, they're already missing Dumba and Sagan, and so to pick up another injury this early, look, that's one thing that the Stars said repeatedly last year was they were surprisingly healthy for most of last season. They didn't go through this period of injury early on. They had a couple of guys, Oettinger had a little time on the injured list. I know Sagan missed a couple of games. So did Mason Marchment, had an issue. Rope Hintz missed some time. But then it was sort of stretched out toward the later part of the year. They're testing their depth a little bit more right now.
Yeah, and that's why I think we talk, especially for defensemen, when you get into the playoffs, typically you need to go through at least 8 or 9 defensemen, and they didn't have that last year. But it was a scary moment for Smith. But fortunately, he came back, 2 shifts later?
Well, the Stars got another power play because Andrew Mangiapane was called for cross-checking with just a second over 2 minutes to go in the period. And it was the Alexei Protas show. Again, he had 3 quality chances, all shorthanded in the first period. Didn't score, but he had a partial breakaway, blew past Miro on that one, and then he got his own rebound, and DeSmith with 2 good saves. I thought Casey DeSmith was fine. We're going to talk about some goals in the second period, but he looked sharp again like he did in his first game against Seattle.
He does. And I think that what happened tonight was the Washington Capitals found a way to get tighter and tighter and more bodies to the goal crease. And it's hard for a goaltender, obviously, to come out and challenge when there's got 2 or 3 guys standing in front. But he fought through a lot of things. I don't look at Casey DeSmith tonight and look at there was any poor goals. They were tough saves that he had to make, and the ones that he didn't, he was looking through at least 3 to 4 bodies in front of him.
So we get to the end of the first period, and I had the shots at 7-6 in favor of Dallas. It was 5-5 in chances. Honestly, Blackwell was the only high danger chance for the Stars. The shorthanded breakaway. Protas had that one for a shorthanded as well. 5-on-5 in power play. Neither team created anything that was particularly of note.
It was a throwaway period for both clubs, and the only thing. I think for Washington, knowing how Dallas was playing, how they were coming in there, they probably looked at that as not a bad period for them, and they regrouped somehow coming out into the second period.
Yeah, so we go to the second now. We got a little bit of time before our first ad break, so let's keep going because Jamie Benn had a 2-on-1 and missed the net right out of the gate. It was the first chance of the second period. It was a very good opportunity, but they couldn't capitalize. And then within the first minute, Tom Wilson, who looked like an all-star out there, scored at 55 seconds, his 3rd of the year. He has goals in all 3 games already this year. Pierre-Luc Dubois and Connor McMichael with the assists. And it's 1-1 literally within the first minute. And Letty, you always hear guys say, giving up a goal in the first minute or last minute of the period can be a massive momentum shift. And here's one 5 seconds before the 60-second mark.
I think it was a really nice play by Dubois. We talked about him in the pregame show and how many times he's been traded and the contract and all these other things. He made a nice one-touch pass, and it was a one-touch shot, which and for Wilson coming down as a righty, coming down there, the pass is coming from his left side. It's not like taking a one-timer if you're a lefty. It's on his right side. He got a lot on it for making that pass and getting it off his tape that quickly.
Amazingly, even though the Caps got the early goal, the Stars had the vast majority of the chances early in the second period. Now, that would change, but it was Ben, Johnston, Dodonov, and then a really nice 2-chance sequence from Sam Steele and Oscar Beck. Steele with a great shot from the top of the crease, and then Beck got the rebound. And I felt like I kept saying to you all night when I was kind of underwhelmed by the Stars' attack, boy, that 4th line keeps doing something.
Their identity, and, they didn't try to do the things that the other 3 lines do. In other words, kind of stick handle through the neutral zone, little high risk passing. They just play in straight lines, and they're effective. And again, for that role, you want to be effective and efficient. And they found a role for that line, and not only killing penalties, but now he can throw them out there when other lines aren't maybe clicking the way he wants them to.
Well, it's 1-1 at that point, and coming up next, let's talk about some very big goals in the second period of a game that for a while was pretty snoozy right here on the DLLS Dallas Stars postgame show. Rhoback Activewear. It's quite simple. Best fit, best feel. The quality of the gear just speaks for itself. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polos. They're moisture wicking so the polo doesn't stick to you, and they have such a nice stretch. Their everyday shorts are also perfect for the combo of a day on the move. They can look clean, but still be comfortable with an elastic waistband. So you have performance polos, you have performance hoodies, everyday shorts, versatile. You can wear the polo untucked, or you have a t-shirt on the move and the elastic waistband for easy comfort and a nice stretch fabric. Clean look no matter the occasion. So use the code DLLS_STARS20. You can see it on the screen on roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with the code DLLS_STARS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travel or activities you have. Now we need to talk to you about Game Time. You know, everybody loves going to sporting events, going to live concerts, comedy shows, other theater events. The best way to get in is to get the best tickets from Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time by downloading the Game Time app. Create an account and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account or an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And what time is it for us? It's time to talk more about the second period. Stars tied 1-1 with the Capitals, who we will see again in December at American Airlines Center. And it didn't take long. Less than 6 minutes after Tom Wilson scored, the Caps had their first lead. And I thought it was interesting. You heard Josh on the broadcast on Victory Plus say it was the first lead change in a Stars game in 5 games. They've either had the lead, or in the case of the shootout win, they trailed or tied until they won it in the shootout. But in this one, it was traffic and more traffic that caused the difference, because Dylan Strome scored at 6:15 from John Carlson and Alexei Protas. And this is the first of 2 shots that I don't think Casey DeSmith even had a chance of seeing.
Not a chance. And it's even surprising that the puck made it through 4 guys standing in front of the net, bodies all tight. And again, it's what's happened. And when you're a goaltender like that, they just had to get down and they try to find some little hole, look between somebody's legs, over an arm if you can. And this one, he couldn't find anything. And,
I mean, when you look at this, and you're going to see it again with the third goal, there's just a line of players. There's that moment when
there was
the
a
shot
good shot
comes.
of that, wasn't it?
Really
Camera
good.
angle. Yeah.
And you could see it going through. In this case, it was 3 sets of legs.
Yep.
What do you do as a defender to try to clear that out? Because you can't just maul a guy like you used to, but you've got to find a way to let your goalie see that.
Well, you got to gain position first off, and I think that's one of the things that I kind of harp on the most is when players are coming out from the corners to get to the front of the net to establish position. Now it seems like defensemen just want to meet them in the front of the net, where you can kind of come out 4 or 5 feet to the side of the net and meet them and almost slow their progress down getting there, because the way that forwards get out to the point now and try to block shots, the shooter only has a second or so to get the puck away. So if you can get out and basically hold them up legally before they can get to the front of net, a lot of times your goaltender has that ability to find it.
Well, the Stars had another power play in the second period as Nick Dowd was called for cross-checking. They had 2 quality chances, but neither of them were particularly high danger. And at the end of the night, we could talk about another power play in the third where they had 1 chance, but they finished with a pretty pedestrian 0 for 4, 7 minutes of power play time. And now for the season, the Stars came in tonight having scored only once, and that was in their opener against Nashville. They are now 1 for 17 with the man advantage, and it didn't cost them until tonight.
I think the word urgency is going to be thrown around in the next few days at practice when it comes to the power play. More urgency to get to the front of the net, exactly what Washington did tonight. More urgency to get pucks away quicker so they don't have the time to get their coverage, make that pass, look for the right lane, the right shot at the right time, and then have the urgency to bring people to the net and try to start finding second and third opportunities.
Well, they did get to the net to tie the game, actually back at 5-on-5 as Jason Robertson scored his second of the season. This one came at 13:09 of the middle period from Rope Hintz and Wyatt Johnston. And the funny thing is Rope Hintz gets an assist here because he blocked his teammate's shot with the back of his leg.
Hey, any way you can grab a
And
point.
it hurt him too.
Yeah. Well, it only hurt him for a little while. And as soon as they find a point, it goes away. Or score a goal, it goes away. All the pain goes away. But I thought Wyatt Johnson made a nice play. I mean, he gets the puck. A lot of other guys would have shot the puck from where he got it, but he walked in. He got to the middle of the ice, which allowed Robertson to get to the front of the net. And again, he got the rebound, and he stayed. I think everybody thought the puck was already Lindgren had the puck. Lindgren couldn't find it anyways, and it was just laying there. And it's a good second and third effort for Robo to fight through, the coverage and then find that loose puck.
It's not easy to get to the dangerous areas, to go to the net front. It gets a lot harder in the stretch run and into the playoffs. I thought it's something the Stars didn't do well enough against Edmonton in the conference final. But at this stage of the year, you're not going to take the same level of punishment that you will later on.
Some guys do. They're like, again, we talk about the fourth liners, and those guys know that they have to do that. There's always players that will go to the front of the net. When it's the high-end players, they have the ability that they don't have to go there sometimes to get rewarded. But when things aren't going your way, you go into that area, and next thing you know, you get a couple goals that create a chance on your own, or there's a bad rebound or a bounce off your leg, and it kind of gets the goal scorers need to find that some way, any way, to get that momentum going for them.
Well, it tied the game at 2, even though I didn't think the Stars were playing all that well. But, once again, they so many times, even in instances last year where they weren't great, they found ways to be in games or even steal some games where they just didn't have the same explosiveness that they sometimes can have. And, that was sort of a theme of tonight, is that I didn't feel like there was ever a point where the Stars got all 4 lines rolling, where they were attacking in waves. This was something that Pete DeBoer loves to do with his team, and it didn't feel like that tonight.
No, but you still thought they could come back and win the hockey game. I mean, that's the thing about this team, and it's a good feeling for the players to have. And they're going to say, you know what, we didn't have our best game tonight overall, but we were still there right at the end of the game. If we would have given more and did more of this and more of that, this game shouldn't have ended the way it did. So that's the good news, but I think they can dial it up a little bit, which is what the conversations are going to be like, the next day or so.
And Washington was the better team tonight in a lot of ways, but I didn't feel like they dominated.
No, not at all.
They carried more of the play and they created more chances, but it wasn't as though the Stars were just, outclassed or anything.
They were the more physical team. There was a presence there from the Caps tonight, again, in their building. That typically happens, but you could feel that they felt, I believe, that they weren't going to be able to score with Dallas tonight if it was one of those kind of games, but maybe we can push them out of the game by playing a little more physical.
Well, after it was 2-2, they had a couple of grade A chances. First, Tom Wilson had a wide open drive-by where he crashed into DeSmith and he pushed it wide. Probably should have scored.
Yeah.
And, look, we tease Tom Wilson because of his, antagonistic style. He's actually a very skilled fighter. He does get suspended a bit and has made some questionable decisions in some of his on-ice play, but he's also a very good player. And tonight I thought he was one of their best players.
When you play the kind of style that he does, and knowing that he can fight and he can play a physical game and he's not afraid to probably take a dumb penalty here and there if you need it, you kind of play a different way against him too. And so he creates his own space, not only physically, but his presence and his past. And so he finds that time. And he does have a good set of hands. You're right. That goal, when he pulled it out across the top of the crease, I think he actually thought that he was putting it in there also. And it looked like it just rolled off the toe of his stick.
Well, then they had another chance that forced maybe the best save for Casey DeSmith of the night. Andrew Mangiapane was set up backdoor at the left post, and DeSmith got over and made a really good save. Again, he stopped just about everything he saw in this hockey game.
And he made that save because he was able to see it. There weren't the type of traffic on some of these other plays. It wasn't there, and that's what happens with the goaltenders. They can see it, they can get over there and at least attempt to make that save, and he did.
Wilson had 5 quality chances by my count, which was a game high. He also had this redirection at the top of the crease that just went over the goal. They said something about maybe clipping the crossbar. I couldn't really tell, but the next chance went in, and it was Taylor Radish, unassisted at 17-19, the former Chicago Blackhawk and teammate of Colin Blackwell, scores his first as a Washington Capital. And Letty, if the second goal for Washington was a seeing eye shot,
no kidding.
This one was blindfolded.
It's incredible. But again, it was one of those nights where those pucks were going through and finding little seams to go through the net. And it's another shot that your goaltender can't see. But there was some coverage issues there. And again, it's about letting them get to that good area of the ice before you can stop and seal them out. And it didn't happen enough tonight. There was just too many bodies and big bodies. They got some size on that team taking care of DeSmith's size.
So it's a 3-2 lead. And I thought the Stars were a little fortunate to get to the end of the period still only down a goal because Connor McMichael had 2 chances in the slot at the top of the crease. He got a backhander, then got his own rebound. DeSmith made 2 saves. They take a penalty as Niels Lundqvist was called for hooking with about 2.5 minutes to play. And on that power play, they only gave up one chance, but it was Wilson, one-timer in the slot. That one did hit the top of the crossbar, and they escaped. But, hey, penalty kill tonight was 5 for 5.
Yeah, that's been, the steadiest and the best part of their game has been their PK. And really what's happening on that, it's as simple as 4 guys are out working 5.
I'm just looking at the numbers at the end of the second period. Stars were outshot 18-14. They were outchanced in the period 11-8. In the period, the shots were 12-7 in favor of the Caps. So for the game through 40 minutes of play, they're pretty much being outplayed in every category with the exception of faceoffs. As that's the one thing the Stars are usually pretty good at. That's why we were surprised against Nashville. They weren't very good, but they've gotten better and back to sort of their norm. But when you go into the second intermission and you see that your team is losing, you're on the road, and the other team just seems to have that physical factor. I don't want to say they want it more because that's sort of a bad cliche, assuming that the Stars aren't pros that want to play, but there was definitely a difference in the style between the two teams after 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I think as a group, they go in there and what they talk about is, after 2 periods, we haven't put anywhere near our best effort out there on the ice, and we're down by a goal. All we need to do is get our game to where we know we can get it to going into the third period. We're probably going to get some good looks. We're going to get a power play or two. We're going to have an opportunity. And so that's really all you can really say is like, you know what? Those 40 minutes are behind us right now. There's more that we can give, and we have to, and that's the only thing you can really do, and expect guys to come out there and set the tone early in that third period.
Well, we are going to talk about the third period in just a minute as we continue on the DLLS Dallas Stars postgame show.
Want to talk about Herman Marshall or Rugged Road?
Rugged Road.
Rugged Road? We don't want to do Rugged Road, do we, right now? We can do Rugged Road.
We have to do. No choice.
It's a curveball. See, that's why. It just doesn't make sense with me around here. Anyway, Rugged Road. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. One of the most unique features of Rugged Road coolers is their ability to always float upright. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing and tubing to camping and tailgating, these coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers, reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. So head over to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off.
Thank you, Luddy. Let's talk about Sleeper. Sleeper's the best fantasy league platform out there. You can put your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Tonight, it's the Philadelphia Flyers against the Seattle Kraken. It's underway, so get it while you can. Matvei Michkov scores his first the other night. How about another one from the rookie? Well, I'm on Michkov for more than 0.5 goals. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLSSTARS to get a up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And he hasn't scored yet. So you still have time. It's in the first period. All right, let's move to the third period of the Stars against the Caps tonight as Dallas finds themselves trailing going into the third period. They were a really good comeback team last year, Luds. What do you think is some of the reasons why Dallas has the capabilities of being a team that is not really put off by being down a goal or two?
Oh, their weapons. I mean, we've talked about what they have in the lineup, especially on their top 3 lines. And I think right now we're still sorting through who's going to play with who and who's going to be in the middle of the ice, who's playing on a wing. It's funny. We talked about this all summer long. You pull out one player or two, And even though you have great players on your team yet, it's about chemistry. And it's not just team chemistry. It's those three guys and the two pairs defensemen that have to be able to play together in order for things to work out. So, right now there's moments where they look right and good. And then there's other moments where I'm sure as the coaching staff is sitting there going, okay, and there's a lot of writing that goes on in the first 10 games or so. Let's try him here, let's try him there. And I think they're still going through that process.
Early in the third period, it was not the Stars, it was the Caps that generated chances, not by a wide margin, but just a couple here. Jacob Vrana, Hendrix Lapierre had a couple. Ovechkin had, I know we talked about this earlier, but I'm so used to seeing Ovechkin play like a power forward. But tonight, some of his chances were grinding out, battling for stuff around the crease in the low slot area, just trying to, I don't want to call it garbage goals because that's really not, it's just different. He's not playing like the sniper he used to be.
Well, I don't know if he can get in and out of the zone as quick as he used to either. So when puck goes from low to high and he's at the net, he's going to stay at the net. And if he's not there, he just slides out for that one-timer. And again, it's not as quick. He doesn't get to the spots as fast as he used to. And so I think he's going to rely on that shot of his. And where we really miss him, at least as a fan, is you miss the physicality that he used to bring. And I don't see that as much anymore either. But, and again, he's not like he's 28. He's, 38 now?
Well, we talked about this in a long segment during our regular weekday show. If you watch this performance, and again, I said it earlier, it's early in the season. Does it change what you think about what's going to happen with Alex Ovechkin?
Yeah, I know. How is he going to get to that Gretzky number? And he did it last year. And maybe he doesn't come to camp in the best shape of the season, and he gets better as the season comes along, because he had a good couple months at the end of the season last year where he rattled off 24, 25 goals. Yep. So and maybe that's what he's waiting for. And again, it probably doesn't work that easy as you keep getting a year further down the road. But and I just think it's going to be tougher when you look at him play like this. But I won't write him off, because we know what he's done, and you just expect that he's going to get 10 or 12 of those one-timer goals and probably bang in a few more this year.
It's hard to make sweeping generalizations about the Caps after only seeing them once. They've played 3 games. They've all been at home. They haven't had to travel yet. They're 2-1. They beat a what we assume is a good Vegas team. They beat the Stars, yet they barely crept into the playoffs with a massive negative goal differential last year. I know they had a couple additions. I like the idea of giving them a little bit more on the blue line with Jacob Chychrun. You and I talked about that in the pregame. The Chychrun-Carlson combo could be pretty dangerous. I think they really miss the character of guys who are on LTIR right now, of Nicholas Backstrom and TJ Oshie, and I'm just not sure where the star-studded part is going to come. Is Tom Wilson going to be their offensive leader?
Yeah, and those are two guys that are hard to replace, and you hope that they can get back at some point and play, but more than likely not. So they're going to be where they are. And even if they get into the playoffs, they're probably not going to make a lot of noise in the playoffs.
Boy, it was a quick in and out for them in last year's playoffs. So we'll see how that progresses for them. But they had some chances. The Stars actually had a really good look from Wyatt Johnston as he picked up a loose puck in the low slot, forced a very good save from Charlie Lindgren, who, for the most part, didn't look overly bothered in this one. Again, he made good saves. It's not like this was an easy night, but I didn't think the Stars did enough with guys in front of him.
I just wonder if it's hard to say again, are you overconfident that you're going to come and score some goals when you're used to scoring goals and finding ways to win early in the season? And it's only 4 or 5 games. But even Wyatt, they don't look the same right now. I mean, they're still good. They're going to be great. But right now they're not up to full speed. And I don't know if every team in the league is up to full speed where they are right now.
Well, I was looking at something the other night after our game. I did a couple of late night tweets because I saw some stuff from NHL Stats, which was always really interesting. And one of them was that the Stars started 4-0 for the 5th time in franchise history. And one of the years was one of your teams was 96-97. You guys set the franchise record by winning the first 6 games of the year. 2006-07, that was a Brendan Morrow, Marty Turco year. 5-0 and 4-0 in 2010-11, 2020-21, which was actually the shortened year after the COVID year. And then this year, So, I mean, 96, 97 was a good year, but it wasn't quite where you wanted to go in the end.
Right. Well, the only thing it really does at the start of the year, it gives you a little bit of buffer. Gives you a little buffer to get your game together when it hits that point, and it comes to every team. And if you can get out and put 8, 10 points in the bank, and all of a sudden you have a 2 or 3 game road trip, and 2 of them don't go well, you come back and the sky isn't falling because you've given yourself that little bit of room to get your game back together.
Well, we've got a super chat from our buddy Ardell who sent in 515, which is, of course, Lundqvist and Blackwell. I loved Radek Faksa, still do. That being said, Colin Blackwell sure looks like a solid addition. Good speed, a mean streak, and born in the USA. I don't know why I said that weird. I wasn't sure, Luddy, when they signed him, if that was filling the same need. Now, it isn't, because Blackwell is very different from Faksa.
Yeah.
Different body type, different style player. But I remember him being a real handful when he played for the Preds. Less so last year with the Blackhawks, but that was a tough year for a lot of players. What do you think about Blackwell in the first 5 games?
I think he's hungry. He looks like a hungry player. He looks like a guy that wanted to find a role here. He's found it. When he scored that goal tonight and when he came back to the bench, the big smile on his face, and that first one for the year for him here. And I just think that he's in a spot where he understands what they're asking of him. He's willing to do that, and he's going to find a piece in this team and that whole line where they're not just going to be needed when they're, trying to protect a lead or killing a penalty. There's going to be other moments where they can go out. I think that's the way the coaching staff will say. They can send a message to one of the top lines when they're supposed to be up and they don't get their turn to go out there. You throw that line out there and you create a little momentum, and it's not like they're going to expect that they're going to get 17, 18 minutes a night. They're going to do their job, and they're going to be proud of what they do.
I want to ask you a question about Blackwell as it pertains to Craig Smith, who was with the Stars last year. I really like Smith because he's a player that I felt was skillful enough to play a middle 6 role. But if he's in your 4th line, it means you're really deep, and it's a really good thing, and a pretty good penalty killer. Well, he's 35, and he didn't get re-signed by the Stars. He's with the Chicago Blackhawks. They signed Blackwell instead. Different player. I had heard, and I don't know how truthful this is, that maybe the Stars coaching staff wasn't as high on Craig Smith as we were. But what do you think about the change of going after Blackwell, who is a little bit younger, versus is that hunger thing kind of an important factor?
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. That's their motivating factor for a lot of players. But like I said, it's players that accept who they are, and they're just looking for an opportunity. And I think that's what they see. And they've got he plays with enthusiasm, and he does all the little things. And Smith is a good player, and he still is. He's a good player, and he fits a role. But, sometimes it's a piece they want to move, and you would think it's the same piece, but they might find a different characteristic in one player than the other one.
All right, so let's continue our third period talk. After the Wyatt Johnson chance, we had Protas and Ovechkin. Roope Hintz kind of woke up a little bit and had a couple of chances. Nothing of the high danger variety, but again, causing some trouble. He won a face-off and got a quick shot. He had another spinning backhander in the slot. It looked like he was going to be a little bit of a problem. But then the Stars took another penalty, and they had to kill off yet another power play. It was Mason Marchment was called for tripping at 12:24. They took care of that. But, boy, did Andrew Mangiapane have an opportunity to pad the lead, as he had 2 really good looks. He had a rebound that hit the crossbar on a shot from the right side, and then he ripped a one-timer that DeSmith got over and made the save. I always liked Andrew Mangiapane when he played with Calgary. He's not a big guy, but he's a high-tempo player that gets into good spots. Stars were really fortunate not to be down 4-2 at that point.
When you say good spots, he gets to the front of the net. You say he's not a big player. He's a quick player. He's a fast player. He can shoot the puck. He's a guy that on the right team again, and when he plays with the right people, he's a 25, 30 goal scorer that is down the lineup. And so it's another one of these guys that they understand where they are and the role player and what they're expected to do, and they're not expected to do certain things, and which is fine with them. And it seems like they always overachieve.
The Marchment penalty was he got his stick between the legs of John Carlson. Carlson tried to skate and just got can opener. Down he went.
You couldn't pass that one up.
No chance. Well, a few minutes later, Connor McMichael does the exact same thing as he gets called for hooking, but he had the stick between the legs, I think, of Miro Heiskanen. I always love a player when he gets called for something like that, when it's so blatant right in front of the referee, and then he sticks his hands up and goes, "What did I do?" And then goes to the box, looks up at the scoreboard, and then kind of shakes his head. Like, I don't know what you saw there, but it's pretty obvious you got a penalty.
What they're trying to do is say, hey, he dove. He knew it was there, and he kind of made it look like I tripped him and things like that. I mean, what can you do? Now, let's talk a little bit about Miro.
Okay.
Was Miro off tonight?
I don't think it was his best game for sure.
Did he look tired?
I had a hard time trying to figure out if the moments we really noticed that was, you said it earlier, at the end of a long shift, or was he just not at the kind of the sort of Zubovian limitless energy you get used to from a player like that.
What was it, the Wilson goal that he made the pass behind the net over to Harley? That kind of, there was a pass behind the net, and
that was on the Wilson goal,
and
kind of like
there was a
replay
replay that it looked like the puck kind of was up in the air and Thomas couldn't handle it, and there was a couple other plays, and again, if it's fatigue and if Miro Heiskanen is tired, it's kind of a barometer of the rest of your group. And maybe, sometimes when you get physically tired, you get mentally tired. And so maybe they need to somehow get through this stretch of games. But I look at a guy like Miro, and if I feel like anybody can have an off game, but he just looked tired to me. And I thought a couple of the position things were tired mental mistakes, which is never him.
Not saying anything that I know, but just remember, this is the time of year where things start to get cold, especially in other markets, although the weather is beautiful in Dallas right now. But, you go up north.
Not the allergies.
No, the allergies are brutal.
Lord.
You can be a firsthand attest of that. But that's where people start to pick up head colds, and it goes through the team. You're traveling in a tight confines of a charter flight or on the bus. And, not that I'm saying that Miro's got a cold or anything, but you could pick up something and not notice it as guys play through that. Yeah, he didn't look like he was one of the most dominant players on the ice tonight, which we're really spoiled at.
Yeah, exactly. We're spoiled. And, again, we expect the best from these guys every single night, and it just doesn't work like that.
Well, the Stars get down to having that power play. They had one chance by my count from Mason Marchment from the left circle. But again, here we are. The end of the game, they had an opportunity with just over 4 minutes to go to tie it. And you like your chances with the way they defended for the most part to get to overtime. And then, let's roll the dice. Maybe you can steal one. But the power play just couldn't come through tonight.
No, well, the power play hasn't been clicking. And again, we can keep talking about it till we're blue in the face.
And we probably will.
Yeah. And Blue Chew. I mean, they're going to work on it. They need some time. It'd be nice right now when things aren't working. What'd you say there? 1 for 17, 18?
Yeah,
or
1 for
like
17 now.
They need time to work on it.
And they're not going to have that until next week.
Exactly. And I think that's why I think the coach and everything, okay, we understand it's not clicking. The schedule is what the schedule is. We're going to have time. And maybe we can get ourselves 1 or 2 goals here before we get some time to work on this thing. And we're going to work our way through it. But again, even coming down to tonight where it wasn't great, they still had an opportunity at the end of the game, to find a way to win.
Well, their schedule for the week is, at least on the schedule that was released by the media, for them to have a practice tomorrow at noon at Comerica Center. Part of the reason why they might actually follow through with that is because they have an afternoon game on Saturday against the Oilers. When you play at 3 o'clock,
There's
can't have a morning skate.
There's going to be about 5 guys on the ice.
Think it's going to be an option tomorrow?
I would guess that.
Because that's the problem, is that after the start of the season, they really haven't had a chance to have a proper skate. We talked about this until the Monday after the Edmonton game coming up on Saturday.
They don't need a pregame skate. They don't need to skate tomorrow. They just need to come fresh to the game. What is it, 3 o'clock game?
3 o'clock game in the AAC.
Yeah. Give them the day off.
Well, with a couple minutes to go after the power play was unsuccessful, they pulled DeSmith. I think it was right around the 2-minute mark. Rope Hintz, as they're making that change, gets a chance to just fling it toward the net. And boy, hit the right post. When you see the replay, if he puts that an inch to the left, he's got Lindgren beat, and we have a tie hockey game. It was awfully close.
How many players have said that in their lifetime? They just put it an inch to the left or to the right.
That's the old Mighty Ducks line, the 1/4 of an inch, and it's in the net. And
but maybe that's all he had to shoot at, too.
That's right.
So, again, it's one of those things where you wish you had a do-over, but you don't.
The 6-on-5, well, the Stars did have that chance, but it was more of a rush chance than it was a setup in the zone, was really something that stood out to me, Luddy, was 29 times of the 64 shot attempts the Dallas Stars had tonight. So nearly half of them were blocked. 26 of those 29 were by a Washington Capital player. Only 3 were friendly fire. But think about that. Just about half of the shot attempts they had didn't get to the net because of somebody standing in front of them.
So is that the Dallas team or is that the Washington team?
I mean, I give a lot of credit to the Caps for defending that way, but I think some of that, probably more Washington, but I would also say that the Stars have to find a way to get cleaner lanes, but the Caps really seem to put an emphasis on getting in the way of the Stars shooters.
Yeah, and you're looking for cleaner lanes, but what happens, especially when it's a 6-on-5, even a 6-on-4 if you have to, everything gets condensed, and they're taking away the right areas of the ice, and you see no holes. And because there's legs and bodies, and so you can't get through there. And so now you're trying to pass it to another spot or move it to another spot. And you know who your other enemy is the clock. And so they're trying to rush things, find a way to get something through the net. We need a couple guys in there to get a rebound. And again, I look at games like this, you just got to credit the Capitals for paying the price and blocking shots.
Up next, let's talk about this one as we get you ready as well for Saturday's game against the Oilers as the DLS Dallas Stars post-game show continues. Boy, that one almost got stuck in my throat. I couldn't enunciate that. But let's talk about being a diehard. DLS Diehard program is a fantastic way for you to elevate your Stars fandom. A lot of what we do is free of charge. Our broadcasts here on YouTube or on all these audio streaming platforms if you listen to us later on. If you want to read stuff on our website, alldlls.com. A lot of great writing from Sam and Sean. Sean, by the way, will be covering tonight's game for Sam, who's on the IR for the night. Sam, we hope you feel better. And yet, there's all sorts of stuff and perks about being a diehard. Tomorrow, we get to do a damn Discord channel again. It feels like it's been a while.
It has.
You were on a road trip. We had Sean fill in for one. We had a Stars game where we didn't have a broadcast last Friday. So we're going to do the Discord.
We got some good ones, too.
If you already have a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get in on it.
That means it's not going to be good for me.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I might have to tip you off to one. One might require some research for Luds because you might not know what it is. But
wow, that's always
so it's a spelling thing.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not going to ask you to spell non sequitur this time. Go to the alldls.com website. Click on Die Hard. Sign up today. You get a free T-shirt. I believe that we also have All City has a national NHL show. What Chaos has a new line of merch with Buffalo-based hockey fashion label Dishin. You can just go to justdishin.com and check out the What Chaos line of shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Got to help out our All City Network friends doing the national NHL show. So let's talk about the end of this one. We talked about the fact that they didn't have a ton of shots on goal, 24 in the game tonight. Scoring chance, they actually out-attempted Washington 64-51, which would be consistent with the team trying to get back in the game. But it's those block shots that really stood out for me. And for the first time this year, they barely cracked double digits in 5-on-5 scoring chances. Around 20 to 25 in the first 4 games, depending on them. Some in the 17, 18 range. Only 11 today. That was, to me, a real indicator of the offensive punch or lack thereof that they had.
Here's another one that stands out for me, and I don't know if I have it right. 29-7.
And what's that?
Hits.
Yeah.
29-7. I didn't know if that was a typo. I mean, I know, but and sometimes what happens is you get hits because you don't have the puck.
That's a lot.
Right?
Right.
And so, but that when I saw that at the end of the game on that sheet, I knew it was a little lopsided one way, but that's
You're
a lot.
almost right. 27-9. But still,
I'm dyslexic, so
but even so, 27-9, that's a huge disparity. Look, I'll say this because I repeat it a lot. Hits is a funky one for me because I feel like they aren't tracked consistently from building to building. The NHL has actually gone back and reviewed games more recently in this past year or so and corrected ones that they don't think were scored properly.
Is there hits in the betting? Can you bet
That's
on
a
hits
great
in games?
question. I'm not sure.
On the Sleeper app, you absolutely can.
So you can on Sleeper
for
app.
hits?
You could even throw. I don't know about Sleeper, but I know other apps have things where you can build almost like a parlay out of them, but it's legal because it's what they've given you to work from. But I do know for a fact Sleeper does have hits on it, and you can go more or less.
And you being a Boston Bruin fan,
yes,
in the day you'd look up at the board at the shot clock, or you'd see after the game the shots were just lopsided. And you're like, "There's no way," because again, psychologically, you're sitting there and you're going, "Well, we're not playing really well." Then you look up there and you're being outshot 4-1. Like, what the hell's going on? And now
they're just clicking.
But now with all the betting and all the props and all that kind of stuff, they've got to go back and look. I've heard they shots on goal and
they changed that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the thing is that I do think that there are disparities from building to building when it comes to things like hits, giveaways, and takeaways, because that can be a bit more subjective. There are times where you see a guy cleanly finish a check, but it doesn't fit the NHL's definition of a hit because it has to separate a player from the puck. It can't just be, well, he passed.
Well, what if you drive him into the boards?
Well, that's just it. Like, if you plaster a guy, but he made the pass to his teammate, I still think that's a hit.
Yeah.
But sometimes by definition, that isn't. It's weird, right?
So it's all subjective again.
Very.
Okay.
But in spite of all of that sort of clarifier by me or qualifier, it was absolutely, I mean, nearly 30 hits to single digits. It's a big difference tonight, and it was noticed.
The guys on the ones that are getting hit and saying, well, yeah, we have the puck all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know if that was necessarily the case because it didn't seem like Dallas had the puck all night long. I just think that the idea for the Washington Capitals has said we have to play our kind of game because if we want to get into a run and gun with this team, it's probably not going to turn out for. We have to make it uncomfortable for them.
We talked about the block shots, 26-12 in favor of the Caps. The hits, 27-9. And look, Dallas was the best face-off team in the NHL last year. They only won 31-28. So that's above 50%. That's good. 53%. But for the Caps to be close against a good face-off team, those three numbers combined just say that they came to work tonight.
Yeah, they did the little things. You know, they didn't go out and try to open the hockey game up, and they just kind of played in little segments and 5 feet here, 10 feet here, and we all move up together and we keep it tight and we don't give them any time and space to do the things that they've been doing. We've seen this for a year or so with this group.
And it's really interesting you say that because say example the San Jose game where it was way more wide open and trading of chances. There weren't a ton of instances where Dallas had rush opportunities in this game.
Not outnumbered stuff, too.
2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, breakaways. I mean, other than the shorthanded one by Colin Blackwell and that 2-on-1 from Jamie to start the second that he missed the net, very few.
It's one of the things that Washington, I think, tried to do is always have a third man high in the offensive zone. So any pucks that would turn over, there's at least 3 guys coming back. And then you notice there are a lot of times coming back into their own zone. There are 2 late forwards that got across the blue line into their own zone. We're beating Dallas's guys into the zone. That's a team that's working 200 feet both ways.
Okay, well, we have to satisfy our T-shirts or our sponsor here. Luddy, this is not an easy one. It's time for us to do our Herman Marshall Marquee moment of the game. Pick up your favorite bottle at your closest goody liquor.
I'm going to go with the block shots. I just think, and it's the Washington Capitals. This is not a Dallas Star thing. I think that was one of the key moments here tonight for the Washington Capitals, especially at the end of the game. And we saw them lay out and pay the price at the game. So that's it for me tonight.
For every bottle of single barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas. For those who went before, stop into your closest goody liquor store to find your favorite bottle. All right, John, do we want to hit a few chats here before we talk about the Oilers? Do you have anything on tap for us?
We have a few built up. A lot of it is just people were not happy about the power play tonight. Let's start from the beginning of the broadcast tonight. We've got Talek Lizzie, fix the power play, por favor. I'm gonna rattle through some of these, Owen, and
okay.
I'll stop at the end of the power play ones. But Cam Thakor also said the same thing. There were a ton of these from multiple people, but let's end with here. Joe Mama.
Jamiebenn does not belong on the first unit at this point in his career. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do understand why people are disappointed, Luds, when you have one power play goal in your first 5 games. And
well, I hope we're not blaming that on Jamie.
No, but what's going on? I mean, we talked a little bit about it. What's going on with this power play unit?
Where does Jamie go on the power play?
Net front.
Is there anybody better on this team? And the people could probably say, yeah, Joe Pavelski was.
You had to say it.
I know. but it was for different reasons, right? I mean, Joe was or is and maybe will be like the best tipper in the game from that area. But what Jamie does is he keeps goaltenders in the net. He will plant himself right on top of the paint there, and he makes sure that they can't come out and cut down the angle. The other thing is nobody else really wants to get in there and battle with Jamie. Not anybody, but most people don't. So he gets some space in there. How many goals have you seen Jamie score in the power play off of an initial shot? Because he's got a little time and space, and he's got pretty good hands and tight. I think he's I don't know. I like Jamie in front of the net there. Is there a better option? Possibly, but for me, it's Jamie Benn if you want that kind of guy to create that kind of space and time.
John, you have any more for us?
Yep. They're down there now. Oh, you want me to read it?
Oh, no, I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we want to make sure we were moving here. What are your thoughts on Bork in tonight's game? Yeah? I know you're smiling at this.
I didn't notice him.
Again, that's too young.
Yeah, I said that. I said that the other game too. I mean, I'm not nothing. How many minutes did he play tonight? Pull your little sheet up.
I'll pull it right back up.
For me, I'm looking. You know, again, it's not fair, but I compare.
10-22.
Okay, so last game, Pete had to go through, and somebody was asked a question. I think it was Sam maybe that asked the question, and he had to pull up the sheet and 12 minutes. He didn't know how many minutes he played, which doesn't mean anything bad, but I don't think he really had a glowing report for him either. So is he playing with the right guys? I don't know, but do we want it and do we expect more? I mean, he's a young kid. What do we really know about him at this level? Nothing.
They have him with Stankoven and Ben. Now, again, he and Stankoven had great chemistry in the AHL,
the American League,
which is different, but they were dynamic, and it was two of the best players in the AHL. That's a good league, and they should be very proud of that. This is different, and we'll see, because the coaching staff will not hesitate to split lines up and juggle within the course of a game if they don't like what they see.
Yeah, and I don't think he's the type of player that you're going to take and put him down on the fourth line just to get some minutes. You know, I think he's got to play with the kind of players, the game that he plays. But not everybody can jump into the league like Stankoven did.
Yeah.
You know, so we just got to give him some time.
Our GM, Ben. By the way, happy birthday, Ben. It was his birthday yesterday.
We ate all of your cake during the game.
Not all of it, but
I ate about half of it.
I
during
tried.
The second period tonight.
Yes. I didn't touch the cupcakes.
Doing laps over.
Ben goes, 160-point season work for anyone? 162. That would be 1 loss and 81 victories.
162 or bust. That's
cute,
the thumbnail tomorrow for the show.
I mean, do you remember what the Bruins' record-setting season was 2 years ago?
I do not recall.
It was 130-something, right? 68 wins? Was that what it was?
That's 60. I thought that something like that.
If only there was a way for us to look at.
And then what happened in the first round?
Ask John.
John, what happened in the first round?
Hey, look,
the record-setting year?
I'm not as humiliated by it because
this is not about the regular season.
They didn't get swept. The Lightning got swept when
just
they did
get to the dance.
They took it to 7.
Get to the dance.
Okay.
For some reason, the thing
Speaking
I looked up
from
wanted
Joe
to take
Mama Owen, the Boston accent is the most obnoxious noise I've ever heard. And what I say to that is, Joe Mama, you think you're better than me?
Do you like apples? Hey, 65, 12, and 5, 135 points in the 22-23 season. That 135 points, and they finished the year on an 8-game winning streak, just to punctuate their President's Trophy. Think about that. They were 24 points better than second place Toronto in their division. That's ridiculous. Any more before we talk about the Oilers?
Shots at me. I don't know if I want to give you any comments.
I'm not taking shots at you. Bloody was taking shots at you.
There was one more good one. Here we go.
Jason writes in, none of those Caps goals were DeSmith's fault. First goal was on my top pet peeve, D-zone turnovers.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's been a little loose. And, again, I think that sometimes there's a little bit too much that they want to go north. They want to jump in, go offensively instead of taking care of your end first, and you make one pass and get it up the ice. And I just think that, you got to play what's in front of you. And this is a team that can score goals, and that's the pace that they want to set. But you've got to take care of your end first and make good outlet passes and be in the right position to defend in front of your own net. And there were some things you can see tonight on one goal where Blackwell was down low and he switches to come all the way out, and Harley's above it and Miro's off on another side. You can see them looking and wanting to stay with guys in their own zone. And, again, I don't know if they're calling it a man-on-man or zone, whatever, but you're going to play against some pretty good teams that can read all that. But again, look at how good the team was last year, and if they can shore those things up, they'll get back on track here and get that game together that we're all used to seeing. Their power play is going to get going too.
They're going to be back in the East Coast again next week with a couple of games in Buffalo and Boston. Speaking of our producer, but
we got some content planned.
Oh, I bet you do. Let's get to tomorrow's or next game. They have practice scheduled for tomorrow, 3:00 game on Saturday against the Edmonton Oilers, who, after losing their first 3 and looking in all kinds of disarray, have suddenly won 2 in a row, including beating the Predators tonight in Nashville, who are still looking for a win. 4-2 victory for Edmonton tonight. Jeff Skinner scored his second goal. Remember, Jeff Skinner plays for Edmonton now. He scored his second of the season. Brett Kulak had 2 goals, including the empty netter. They had a 3-2 lead. Why? Because at the end of the second period, Connor McDavid scored his first goal of the year. I hear he's pretty good at hockey.
I've heard that.
So what do you think about Stars-Oilers renewing a rivalry that's only a few months away from the 6th game of the conference finals?
I hope this brings out the best in both teams. The Oilers, rough start. Dallas, good start from the standpoint of wins and losses. This may be the best thing for Dallas, because if you're not going to have your A game against McDavid, Draisaitl, and a few of those other players on that team, you're not going to be happy at the end of it. So I think this is a good time for this team to come in here, especially coming off of what happened last year.
Well, the Stars sit in first place in the Central Division after 5 games, 4-1-0, and they're 2 what we thought was biggest rivals, Colorado and Nashville, 0-4-0. They have yet to win or even earn a point, and they are -10 for Nashville and -12 for Colorado. That is a massive negative goal disparity. Colorado has already given up in 4 games 25 goals against.
Their best players are their worst players right now. And McKinnon, what they're trying to do is they're trying to do too much. And you can see them pressing the issue. I don't know, there's 3 injuries that they have. They look like they're trying to do things, even though that, a couple of these guys, Makar, they're turning pucks over in the wrong areas of the ice. Last night, McKinnon wants the puck and he gets it, and next thing you know, it's back in his own net. So there is things that called trying too hard sometimes, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're pressing it.
Well, the Stars will not have a perfect season, but that's okay. 4-1 in their first 5, as they will be back tomorrow. We'll see if they have practice. We might have some information updates from that. We are back at 2 o'clock for our regular Friday show, including the damn Discord channel with Luds. That's coming up at 2 p.m. Central Time tomorrow afternoon. We will be here. Sean will be here. We're not sure on our little buddy. We'll have to check on Sam and see if he's feeling a little better. Yeah, but either way, we'll have plenty of hockey talk tomorrow on the DLS Dallas Stars podcast. And then we have a pregame show at 2:15 till about 2:45 for the 3 o'clock afternoon game, Stars and Oilers on Saturday. So it's a pretty busy end of the week. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DLLS_sports, the main account, and our Stars one at DLLS_stars. Of course, you can find Luddy on Twitter occasionally. I saw you even tweet.
He tweeted last night.
Yeah.
Or no, he tweeted this morning.
It was about Oettinger, I think.
He tweeted the...
I retweeted.
No, you tweeted the link and you just said Otter. That was all you said.
Yeah, that's retweeting, isn't it? I didn't write nothing. I didn't find it was from one of you guys. I just copied it and retweeted, I thought.
You wanted to save your stats. I was waiting for you to put the rankings in that you texted us in the group text this morning, because that would have been a good tweet. Stars, goaltending, penalty kill, good. The rest of them.
It would have been appropriate for tonight, wouldn't it?
Boy, it was. I tell you what, there are a few times where my esteemed co-host likes to remind us that he said something a while ago and it came to fruition a few hours later.
What was it?
Well, it was that. It was,
all the
things.
Nostradamus.
You called the 40 shots the other night?
I picked my spots.
Yeah.
I picked my spots.
Well, his
you can kind of sense some things coming.
Nostradamus was
There's a reason I looked. Hey, there's a reason I looked at those numbers this morning.
We should get you to look at
I
the
didn't know
sleeper
Otter
app.
was signing today. I'm just saying there's a reason I looked at it, and I'm like, man, they don't feel like they've done this, this, and this. And all of a sudden you look at it, and the only 2 things that make sense leads right back to a goaltender.
William said quote tweet. It wasn't a quote.
It wasn't a quote tweet either.
Lutz is misrepresenting his content.
He pasted a link and wrote Otter in it, but it was not.
Well, I was basically saying this is about Otter, but you guys already had it out there. Somebody else had it out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't create
That's
that
not
link.
What a retweet is, though.
No. Well, I'll tell you what. Great day for Jake Oettinger.
Semantics. It's just semantics.
It's not semantics. It's
Details.
Just not what it is.
Facts. Well, I'll tell you what. Jake Oettinger with a big contract today. We will probably talk more about that on the show tomorrow. We'll get our goalie expert, Sean, to give his 2 cents about that as well. But for the game tonight, the Stars could have easily been 5-0, but they just weren't.
No, listen. It's one game.
Yep.
You got a big one coming up.
All right. That'll do it for us tonight. Thanks for staying up with us. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Tell your friends. The more of an audience, the better. We're trying to grow something, and we hope that you enjoy everything that we're putting out there. For, once again, Craig Ludwig and our producer, John Anderson, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us as the Caps beat the Stars tonight by a final score of 3-2. Sam, get well soon. So long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.